Hello friend, 18 number का हमारा chapter है neural control and coordination. As you know, the functions of the organ systems in our body must be coordinated to maintain homeostasis. Coordination is the process through which two or more organs interact and complement the functions of one another. For example, when we do physical exercises, the energy demand is increased for maintaining and increased muscular activity. The supply of oxygen is also increased. The increased supply of oxygen necessitates an increase in the rate of respiration, heartbeat, and increased blood flow by blood vessels. When physical exercise is stopped, the activities of nerves, lungs, heart, and kidney gradually return to their normal conditions. Thus, the functions of muscles, lungs, hearts, blood vessels, kidney, and other organs are coordinated while performing physical exercises. In our body, the neural system and the endocrine system jointly coordinate and integrate all the activities of the organs so that they function in a synchronized fashion. The neural system provides an organized network of point to point connections for a quick coordination. The endocrine system provides chemical integration through hormones. In this chapter, we will learn about the neural system of human, mechanisms of neural coordination, like transmission of nerve impulse conduction across synapse. Neural system. The neural system of all animals is composed of highly specialized cells called neurons, which can detect, receive, and transmit different kinds of stimuli. The neural organization is very simple in lower invertebrates. For example, in Hydra, it is composed of a network of neurons. The neural system is better organized in insects, where a brain is present along with a number of ganglia and neural tissues. The vertebrates have a more developed neural system. Human neural system. The human neural system is divided into two parts: the central neural system CNS and peripheral neural system PNS. The CNS includes the brain and the spinal cord and is the site of information processing and control. The PNS comprises of all the nerves of the body associated with the CNS, brain, and spinal cord. The nerve fibers of the PNS are of two types: afferent and efferent fibers. The afferent nerve fibers transmit impulses from tissues, organs to the CNS, and the efferent fibers transmit regulatory impulses from the CNS to the concerned peripheral tissues, organs. The PNS is divided into two divisions called the somatic neural system and autonomic neural system. The somatic neural system relays impulses from the CNS to skeletal muscles, while the autonomic neural system transmits impulses from the CNS to the involuntary organs and smooth muscles of the body. The autonomic neural system is further classified into sympathetic neural system and parasympathetic neural system. Visceral nervous system is the part of the peripheral nervous system that comprises the whole complex of nerves, fibers, ganglia, and plexus by which impulses travel from the central nervous system to the viscera and from the viscera to the central nervous system. Neuron has structural and functional unit of neural system. A neuron is a macroscopic structure composed of three major parts, namely cell body, dendrites, and axon. Figure 18.1. The cell body contains cytoplasm with typical cell organelles and certain granular bodies called Nisser's granules, short fibers which branch repeatedly and project out of the cell body also contain Nisser's granules and are called dendrites. These fibers transmit impulses towards the cell body. The axon is a long fiber the distal end of which is branches. Each branch terminates as a bulb-like structure called synaptic knob, which possess synaptic vesicles containing chemicals called neurotransmitters. The axons transmit nerve impulses away from the cell body to a synapse or to a neuromuscular junction based on the number of axons and dendrites. The neurons are divided into three types: multipolar with one axon and two or more dendrites found in the cerebral cortex; bipolar with one axon and one dendrite found in the retina of eye; and unipolar cell body with one axon only found usually in the embryonic stage. There are two types of axons, namely myelinated and non-myelinated. The myelinated nerve fibers are enveloped with Schwann cells, which form myelin sheath around the axon. The gaps between two adjacent myelin sheaths are called nodes of Renwier. Myelinated nerve fibers are found in spinal and cranial nerves. Unmyelinated nerve fiber is enclosed by a Schwann cell that does not form a myelin sheath around the axon and is commonly found in autonomous and somatic neural system. Generation and conduction of nerve impulse. Neurons are excitable cells because their membranes are in a polarized state. Do you know why the membrane of a neuron is polarized? Different types of ions channels are present on the neural membrane. These ion channels are selectively permeable of different ions. When a neuron is not conducting any impulse that is resting, the axonal membrane is comparatively more permeable to potassium ion and nearly impermeable to negative charged proteins present in the exoplasm. Consequently, the exoplasm inside the axon contains high concentration of potassium ion and negatively charged proteins and low concentration of sodium ion. In high concentration of sodium ion and thus form the concentration of gradient. These ionic gradients across the resting membrane are maintained by the active transport of ions by the sodium potassium pump, which transports 3 sodium ion towards the 2 potassium ion into the cell. As a result, the outer surface of the axonal membrane possesses a positive charge, while its inner surface becomes negatively charged and therefore is polarized. The electrical potential difference across the resting plasma membrane is called as the resting potential. You might be curious to know about the mechanisms of generation of nerve impulse and its conduction along an axon. When a stimulus is applied at a site, figure 18.2, example point A, on the polarized membrane, the membrane at the site A becomes freely permeable of sodium ion. This leads to a rapid influx of sodium ion, followed by the reversal of the polarity at that side. That is, the outer surface of the membrane becomes negatively charged and the inner side becomes positively charged. The polarity of the membrane at the membrane at the site A is thus reversed and hence polarized. The electrical potential difference across the plasma membrane at the site A is called the action potential, which is in fact termed as the nerve impulse at sites on the outer surface and a negative charge on its inner surface. As a result, current flows on the inner surface from site A and site B, from site A to site B, On on the outer surface, current flows from side B to side A. Figure 18.2. To complete an action potential is generated at side B. The sequence is repeated along the length of the axon, and consequently the impulse is conducted. The rise in the stimulus induced permeability of sodium ion is extremely short-lived. It is quickly followed by a rise in permeability of potassium ion within a fraction of a second. Potassium ion diffuses outside the membrane and restores the resting potential of the membrane at the site of excitation, and the fiber becomes once more responsive to further stimulation. Transmission of impulses. A nerve impulse is transmitted from one neuron to another through junctions called synapses. A synapse is formed by the membranes of presynaptic neuron and a postsynaptic neuron, which may or may not be separated by a gap called synaptic cleft. There are two types of synapses, namely electrical synapses and chemical synapses. And at electrical synapses, namely electrical synapses and chemical synapses, and electrical synapses, the membranes are pre and post synaptic neurons are in very close proximity. Electrical current can flow directly from one neuron into the other across the synapses. Transmission of an impulse across electrical synapses is very similar to impulse conduction along a single axon. Now, impulse transmission across an electrical synapse is always faster than that across a chemical synapse. Electrical synapses are rare in our system. At a chemical synapse, the membranes of the pre and post synaptic neurons are separated by a fluid filled space called a synaptic cleft. Figure 18.3. Do you know how the presynaptic neurons transmits and neuron chemicals called neurotransmitters are involved in the transmission of impulses at these synapses? The axon terminals contain vesicles filled with these neurotransmitters. When an impulse action potential arrives at the axon terminal, it stimulates the movement of the synaptic vesicles towards the membrane, where they fuse with the plasma membrane and release their neurotransmitters in the synaptic cleft. The released neurotransmitters bind to their specific receptors present on the postsynaptic membrane. This binding opens ion channels, allowing the entry of ions, which can generate a few potential. Now, in a postsynaptic neuron, the new potential developed may be either excitatory or inhibitory. Central neural system. The brain is the central for information processing organ of our body and acts as the command and control system. It controls the voluntary movements, balance of the body, functioning of vital involuntary organs, example lungs, heart, kidneys, etc., thermoregulation, hunger and thirst, circadian 24-hour rhythms of our body, activities of several endocrine glands, and human behavior. It is also the site for processing of vision, hearing, speech, of the memory, intelligence, emotions, and thoughts. The human brain is well protected by the skull. Inside the skull, the brain is covered by cranial meninges, consisting of an outer layer called dura mater, a very thin middle layer called arachnoid, and an inner layer which is in contact with the brain tissue called pia mater. The brain can be divided into three major parts: forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. Figure 18.4. Forebrain. The forebrain consists of cerebrum, thalamus, and hypothalamus. Figure 18.4. Cerebrum forms the major part of the human brain. Now, does cleft cleft divides the cerebrum longitudinally into two halves, which are termed as the cleft and right cerebral hemispheres. The hemispheres are connected by a tract of nerve fibers called the corpus callosum. The layer of cells which covers the cerebral hemisphere is called a cerebral cortex and is thrown into prominent folds. The cerebral cortex is referred to as the gray matter due to its grayish appearance. The neuron cell bodies are concentrated here, giving the color. The cerebral cortex motor contains motor areas, sensory areas, and large regions that are neither clearly sensory nor motor in function. These regions are called as the association areas, are responsible for complex functions like intersensory associations, memory, which constitute the inner part of cerebral hemisphere. They give an opaque, white appearance to the layer and hence is called the white matter. The cerebrum wraps around the structure called the thalamus, which is a major coordinating center for sensory and motor signaling. Another very important part of the brain called the hypothalamus lies at the base of the body temperature arch for eating and drinking. It also contains several groups of neurosecretory cells which secrete hormones called hypothalamic hormones. The inner parts of secrete cerebral hemispheres and a group of associated deep structures like amygdala, hippocampus, etc., form a complex structure called the limbic lobe and limbic system. Along with the hypothalamus, it is involved in the regulation of sexual behavior, expression of emotions, emotional reactions. Example: excitement, pleasure, rage, and fear and motivation. Midbrain. The midbrain is located between the thalamus, hypothalamus of the forebrain, and pons of the hindbrain. A canal called the cerebral adequate passes through midbrain. The dorsal portion of the midbrain consists mainly of four round swelling lobes called the corpora quadrigemina. Hindbrain. The hindbrain comprises pons, cerebellum, and medulla, also called the medulla oblongata. Pons consists of fiber tracts that interconnect different regions of the brain. Cerebellum has very convoluted surface in order to provide the additional space for many more neurons. The medulla of the brain is connected to the spinal cord. The medulla contains centers which controls respiration, cardiovascular reflexes, and gastric secretions. And three major regions make up the brainstem midbrain, pons, and medulla oblongata. Brainstem forms the connections between the brain and spinal cord. The summary, neural control and coordination. Then start करते summary. The neural system coordinates and integrates functions as well as metabolic and homeostatic activities of all the organs. Neurons, the functional units of neural system, are excitable cells due to a differential concentration gradient of ions across the membrane. The electrical potential difference across the resting neural system, neural membrane is called the resting potential. The nerve impulse is conducted along the axon membrane in the form of a wave of depolarization and repolarization. The synapse is formed by the membranes of a presynaptic neuron and a postsynaptic neuron, which may or may not be separated by a gap called the synaptic cleft. Chemicals involved in the transmission of impulses at chemical synapses are called neurotransmitters. Human neural system consists of two parts: central nervous system CNS, peripheral nervous system PNS, and the CNS consists of the brain and spinal cord. The brain can be divided into three major parts: forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. The forebrain consists of cerebrum, thalamus, and hypothalamus. The cerebrum for longitudinally divided into two halves that are hypothalamus controls the body temperature. Very important part of the forebrain called the hypothalamus controls the body temperature, eating and drinking. Inner parts of cerebral hemispheres, and a group of associated deep structures from a complex structure called the limbic system, which is concerned with the olfaction of autonomic responses, regulation of sexual behavior, expression of emotional reactions, and motivation. And the midbrain receives and integrates visual, tactile, and auditory inputs. The hindbrain comprises pons, cerebellum, and medulla. The cerebellum integrates information received from the semicircular canals of the ear and the auditory system. The medulla contains centers which control respiration, cardiovascular reflexes, and gastric secretions. Pons consists of fiber tracts that interconnect different regions of the brain. न्यूरल कंट्रोल एंड कोऑर्डिनेशन में हमने पहले से देखा. न्यूरल सिस्टम, ह्यूमन न्यूरल सिस्टम, न्यूरॉन as structural and functional unit of neural system. Then generation and conduction of nerve impulse, then transmission of impulse, then central nervous system, then forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain, then summary. So thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.